Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Modernizing Data Protection with Hewlett Packard Enterprise and Cohesity. Today's event is produced by Actual Tech Media and of course brought to you by HPE and Cohesity. Before we get started, just a brief introduction here. My name is David Davis and I'm excited to be your moderator for today's event. I want you to know that we want this to be an educational webinar. We want you to get all your questions answered about data protection, and we encourage you to use the questions box there in the GoToWebinar control panel to ask all your questions, and we'll be doing a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the event, but we'll also be answering those questions electronically during the event. So ask your questions throughout the event, and we'll be doing our best to answer those. I also want you to know that today's presentation in PDF format, the slide deck, is available for download there in the Handouts tab of the GoToWebinar control panel. So make sure you download that. Also check out the Solution Showcase Enterprise Strategy Brief that's available for download in the Handouts tab on how to evolve from simple backup to true data insights with the HPE Cohesity joint solution. And then there is one other handout in there that you need to check out, and it's a service brief on the HPE GREENLAKE solution with Cohesity. So make sure you download those now, because those won't be easily accessible after today's event. And then finally, after the Q&A on this live event, we'll be announcing the winner of our Amazon $300 gift card prize. If you're watching this on demand, I'm sorry the drawing has already occurred. The prize terms and conditions can be found at events.actualtechmedia.com. And with that, I'm excited to introduce you to today's expert presenters. They are Mr. Kyle Drake, North America Storage Category Manager at HPE, Nikita Omkar, Senior Solutions Marketing Manager at Cohesity, and Mr. Chris Klosterman, Solutions Architect at Cohesity. Kyle, Nikita, and Chris, thank you so much for joining us on today's event. And with that, I'll hand it over to our first presenter. Take it away.
All right, thank you very much, David. And thank you everyone for attending our webinar here. And sorry, I went past the slide here. Just to give you a brief agenda of what we're going to go through. We're going to talk about an exciting new relationship we have with HPE and Cohesity. And when I say new, it's actually been there for the past year, but it's really been exciting since we've really enhanced our partnership over the last 6 to 8 months. We've got a lot of new stuff coming in that you're going to hear from Nikita and Chris on the joint partnership we have and the joint solution that we think is differentiating and really fits into the HPE intelligence story. We'll go over challenges, go over that solution, what's new, some use cases, so a lot of good stuff here. So we hope you definitely enjoy this next hour. What we have at HPE here, we can get this to move, is really our vision. At HPE, our strategy is really to drive and deliver an intelligent data platform for our customers that really kind of turn their challenges into business opportunities. Begins with workloads, optimized, composable systems that span our mission critical arenas, our customers' general purpose footprint, all the way through secondary, through big data, AI workloads, et cetera. And on top of that, encompassing it with cloud data service so they can embrace whatever cloud initiatives they're running. Also being able to have bi-directional data to go to and fro as the data lifecycle flows all the way from creation to expiration. In addition, our global AI engine encompasses the entire infrastructure with intelligence. Right? It starts with being able to predict and proactively resolve issues before they occur. It also is something that spans hundreds of thousands of devices in our install base that continually report back through servers, storage systems, VM farms, et cetera. Workload fingerprints combined with global learning enable us to be able to drive recommendations proactively, keeping our customers' application workloads running, and supporting infrastructure are always optimized and at the most efficient speeds. So we're really excited about that. So that's our vision. So what does that translate to when we talk about the solutions that we offer? Well, obviously with InfoSight being the AI engine and being able to glue together, as you can see, for mission critical you've heard of our Primera, our 3-part line. For general purpose and flexibility in the data center comes our NIMBLE storage devices, which are going to hear some integration with the solution you'll hear about today that we have. SimpliVity for the edge, for a hyper-converged infrastructure approach, that's a great play as well. And then, of course, carrying it all across from secondary all the way to the edge to the cloud, you're going to hear the value that the Cohesity HPE solution brings and actually plays right into the intelligent data platform conversation. And oh, by the way, we'll have some exciting things to talk about when we talk about the consumption flexibility with HPE GreenLake and Cohesity too. So without any further delay, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Nikita to go ahead and introduce the solution.
Thanks, Kyle. And thanks everyone for joining this webinar. I know you all have a lot of busy schedules with working from home and managing, stuff at home and work. So thank you so much for your presence here. So Cohesity was founded in 2013 by Dr. Mohit Aaron. He was one of the lead engineers in Google working on the file system. He's also the technical founder of Nutanix and earned himself a nickname as the god of hyperconvergence for that reason. Cohesity is his 3rd generation web scale architecture, and he has hired an experienced team across various enterprise companies who are passionate about the solution and what benefits it can bring to customers, which I'll get into slowly. I would like to add that we are 100% software company, and we have had 100% software revenue growth over the past 1 to 2 years, with 70% of our customers being large enterprises. We've had top-tier investors in the form of SoftBank, Sequoia, Google Ventures, Morgan Stanley, etc. And HPE is one of our early investors, as well as technology partners who we jointly go to market with. You may have also heard just about last week, this week, we announced a new latest round of funding for $250 million, which is no small feat in the current times that we are in right now. And so this is great testament to the value that customers and partners have seen, investors have seen with Cohesity. We've also been recognized with a lot of awards. We are visionaries in Gartner's Magic Quadrant for backup and recovery, leaders in Forrester's data solutions survey as well. We have been recognized as CNBC top 50 disruptor companies, and we have great reviews from people who actually use the solution through Gartner Peer Insights as well. So overall, a great company, which is pretty much a rocket ship. It's been growing year over year. We have had strong enterprise and public sector adoption with financial services, large banks with operations across the globe and many branch offices as well. We've also had many healthcare customers for whom security and compliance is a big priority. We also have federal and government customers, leading services and retail organizations, large service providers, and technology companies, and so on. So we have a whole good cross section of companies who have adopted the joint solution with HPE. So let me talk about the partnership between Cohesity and HPE. Cohesity and HPE have partnered not only as technology partners, but also with HPE being early investors in the company itself. We started out in the Pathfinder program, which is HPE's incubation program, and then quickly progressed to a technology OEM partnership due to the great reception that we received and customers who came on to the joint solution. We have joint validated solutions on certified HPE Gen 10 servers, and a lot of useful product integrations which arose from customer demand mainly. One of them is the NIMBLE integration that I'm going to talk about in detail. And lastly, all of this is not complete without the great customer success that we have had. We've had integrated go-to-market programs with all of the HPE solutions with Cohesity being available on HPE's price list with a single purchase order, and great support from both the sides to back this up. So let's talk about the customer challenge here. And this is something that all of you may be very familiar with and may relate to. The explosion of data has resulted in mass data fragmentation. No doubt. You'll have to advance. Thank you. More than a third of organizations use 6 or more solutions for non-latency sensitive workloads. All of this has been complicated because 63% of organizations say that they have about 4 to 15 copies of the same data in multiple data silos across backup, recovery, file and object, archival, etc. And not only is this a problem, it's also more complicated because all of these data silos exist across the core data center, edge locations, as well as cloud. In fact, cloud, which is supposed to have a lot of promise in terms of increasing agility and speed, has only added to this problem of mass data fragmentation because of duplicate copies of this data, which are housed on different clouds as well. So all in all, a survey that we did with Vance and Vaughan, 87% of the polled customers said that non-latency sensitive or secondary data is very fragmented and will become nearly impossible to manage long term. So let's get a little more deep into this. And so I forgot. We'd like to post a poll question here, talking about what are the different solutions, point solutions that you use today. And David, if you could post that question, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me bring up this poll question now. And it says, how many point solutions does your organization use for backup and recovery alone? The answers are none, or 1 to 5, or more than 5. So 3 simple answers here. Go ahead and select the option that corresponds to you at your company. And I'm going to share the results of this with you so you can see how you stack up with your peers who are on this event. We've got hundreds of attendees live on this event. So this will be interesting to see. We've got a very large audience and see how many point solutions are actually being used out there in real IT organizations. So take a look at that. Nikita, it looks like 77% said they have between 1 and 5, and 15% have more than 5. Does that kind of correspond with what you've seen out there?
Absolutely, David. In fact, that's right on, pretty much in line with the survey that we did as well. So okay. It's not like the customers are any different. So that's great. Great to hear. So how do we resolve this solution? Or let's go into the problem itself. As you can see, you have many point solutions out there for just backup alone: master servers, media servers, tape libraries, target storage for all of this. And this will have to be kind of taken into the cloud as well if they want to do any dev tests. So a cloud gateway required for this. So this is just for backup alone. Whereas if you want to also use this data for other purposes, there you'll have to create more silos to duplicate this data, creating more copies. Not to mention the data silos that live in file and object stores, the same data that is used for dev test and analytics. All of this, needless to say, is a very inefficient approach. The data is very fragmented. It serves as just an expensive insurance policy with not really much ROI from all of these investments. And not to mention the security and compliance risk and total management headache that all of this creates. So what do we do to resolve this? So what Cohesity does is basically it resolves all of this mass data fragmentation problem, as we call it, by consolidating all of the multiple use cases and the data silos onto a single enterprise class Cohesity data platform software that runs on certified HPE Apollo and ProLiant Gen 10 servers. So with this, you are able to leverage your backup and unstructured data to do more than just be an expensive insurance policy. You're able to leverage it for various other uses like agile dev test, analytics, and so on. And you only have to manage all of this through a single Cohesity user interface so that you have visibility of all of your non-latency sensitive data across the core data center, edge, and cloud. Now, I would be a little more, I'll spend a little time talking about what we mean by latency sensitive and non-latency sensitive. Now, latency sensitive is all your tier 1 data, your virtual data on VMware, physical servers, databases, your NAS data, and so on, which are very latency sensitive workloads, or primary as some would call it. We back up all of this data onto the Cohesity data platform and across the use cases of data protection, file and object, archival, dev test, analytics, and this is what we call non-latency sensitive data. What does this mean to HPE customers? We back up all of HPE's primary storage arrays, which is NIMBLE storage, Primera, 3PAR, SimpliVity, onto the Cohesity data platform. And we also give you, one single user interface where you can manage all of this data. Unlike antiquated point products, that cause mass data fragmentation, inefficient operations, and security compliance risks, only the integrated HPE Cohesity solution offers Cohesity's secure web-scale data management platform on certified HPE servers. And this spans on-premises, cloud, and edge. And it empowers organizations to also run apps on that platform, which is a big differentiator of the Cohesity solution. You don't have to create another data silo to be able to run analytics on this data. You bring compute to the data on the same platform by running marketplace apps on it, and then you are able to back up data and other unstructured data and extract insights from it. So this is the big differentiator and value proposition of the Cohesity and HPE joint solution. And the fact that you can simplify management of all of this through a single purchase order on HPE with support from Cohesity and HPE on the back end just makes it all the more easy for you to leverage your backup data and do more with it. So let's talk about the certified Gen 10 servers. And I won't go too much into the details of this, but you see there are different capacities, for different use cases. And there's also the newly launched Robo solution, which is single one node server. We'll talk about this in detail a little later. But no matter what your use case is, backup, recovery, archival, file and object storage, we have a certified HPE solution for you. So let's talk a little bit more about the integrated, Cohesity data platform solution itself. So unlike, as I already mentioned, it's a single, secure, and efficient platform for backup and recovery, which is integrated. There is no separate target storage required. The software Cohesity data platform, along with the Cohesity Data Protect software, which is an add-on on this, is enough to run integrated backup and recovery and archival to the core data center or cloud, and it runs on HPE hardware. The next one is it's built for hybrid and multi-cloud so that you can integrate with any of the leading cloud providers as well as Cohesity service provider clouds. And you're able to duplicate this data through zero-cost clones onto any of the cloud for easy, agile dev test, as well as for replication in terms of disaster. Lastly, you're able to also do more with this data with Cohesity marketplace apps that help you find security vulnerabilities, do easy process flow for disaster recovery, analytics, and so on. And all of this without having to create another data silo. And also some of the HPE goodness, which is the predictive analytics itself, all of this helps you do more with your data with an integrated web scale software defined solution. And you don't need to have forklift upgrades, for adding any scale for future uses. So you're future-proofing your investment as well. So what's the main difference of the Cohesity software? And this is what we would say differentiates us from other solutions out there. It's simple scale-out operations without the need for forklift upgrades, which are so characteristic of legacy solutions out there. So there's fast ingest and non-disruptive upgrades in case you want to add scale. Our global space efficiency is the best in class, industry leading, thanks to the variable length dedupe, compression and erasure coding. And all of this is possible because of the distributed file system that is unique to Cohesity, proprietary. You're also able to run apps on this data without creating another silo. Instant mass restore, which is you can replicate the data, backup data to any scale and point in time almost instantly. And sometimes it's about 70 to 90% reduction in time to restore. I'll talk about more use cases customer examples in the later slides. The global actionable search, a lot of customers have told us that they are able, it's difficult for them to find any data that's accidentally deleted, or for compliance reasons, they need to make sure that there's no PII information out there. And so Cohesity's distributed file system indexes all the data such that it's very easy to find any of your data anywhere, no matter if it's on the core data center, edge, or cloud. Last but not least, the integrated cybersecurity of the Cohesity and HPE platform. Chris will talk about this in detail later, but you're able to prevent, detect, and respond to ransomware, viruses, and vulnerabilities, and all of this with the great HPE hardware security features, the silicon root of trust, firmware level threat protection, as well as ILO 5 protections. All of this makes a very integrated, secure solution for the joint HPE Cohesity data platform. So let me just conclude this section by talking about the new architecture for data management. And I'll use an analogy that our founder, Dr. Mohit Aaron, uses, comparing it with Google. So what did Google do? It's just like Google consolidated all of the world's consumer data on a single platform. Cohesity does the same for enterprise data by consolidating all enterprise workloads and data on a single Cohesity data platform, which is powered by SpanFS, which is our proprietary distributed file system, our secret sauce, basically. And this is what helps with the fast ingest and instant mass restore. And just like Google had one single Google search engine to have access and visibility to all of the data, we have the Cohesity Helios single UI, which helps you gain visibility to all of your non-latency sensitive workloads across core, edge, and cloud through a single user interface. And lastly, just like Google added value-added services and apps like Gmail and Google Maps and so on, Cohesity helps you run apps and services on the same platform where your data resides through the Cohesity marketplace, which has both Cohesity and third-party applications. And the best part, all of this is consolidated on HPE's Gen 10 Apollo and ProLiant servers, which are validated jointly by both the companies and secured thanks to Silicon Root of Trust security, which is inbuilt in HPE. So this is what we call the new modern architecture for data management for companies, which is how they would modernize their data infrastructure. So all of this results in a lot of TCO savings, needless to say. And here's some of the comparison that we've done over a period of 5 years with conventional backup, recovery, and point solutions for the different use cases we spoke about. Whereas with Cohesity, they're eliminating all of these point solutions. They're easily able to manage it through a single UI. They don't have to spend too much time and resources skilling for different point solutions. And they're able to leverage more of this data for other use cases. So we have seen, about 70% and higher, lowered TCO. And if you want to see exactly how much you would save, feel free to go to cohesity.com/TCO and get your own results of how much possible TCO savings you could realize with this. And lastly, all of this, just to reassure you, HPE and Cohesity support is best in class. It's industry leading. We have won a lot of awards on the collaborative customer support model. And Cohesity does a warm trade-off with HPE on the backend to act as a single point of contact. Now, we also have personalized technical account managers for a superior support experience if you would choose to go for this. I would like to add that we've had, record-setting Net Promoter Scores of 91 and above. In fact, the last time we actually reached 100, and I wanted to put that here, but then it kind of seems very unbelievably true, but it is. So feel free to go to our website and check out the great Net Promoter Scores that we've had. Also, if you would want to hear from your peers, please go to Gartner Peer Insights, where you can see real-life reviews from a lot of users who kind of vouch for the solution itself. So I'll hand it over to Kyle here to cover Pointnext services.
Thanks, Nikita. Yeah, so while we're on the topic of lower TCO and we're talking about support, it's good to note also from an HPE hardware perspective that with these solutions, with our joint partner solutions, we can still take advantage of HPE Pointnext. And if you're not too familiar with HPE Pointnext, or maybe you are and you are a champion, and I'm preaching to the choir, but we have over 23,000 IT advisory and service experts within Pointnext that can help our customers transform, operate IT most efficiently. And when we're talking about plugging in new solutions, we can obviously help as an advisor, help define that transformation strategy. We can operate as systems integrators, right? Safely integrate those HPE solutions, and as a transformation partner, right? So migrating the new HPE solutions faster so we can reduce a lot of risk and cost. So overall, a plug out to HPE Pointnext services, it can really, the net results is lowering your TCO and adding faster time to value. There you go. Okay, so let's talk about what's new. All right, so what's new here in the actual platform from a hardware perspective? We're really excited because, with the HPE Gen 10 systems, we're moving to faster Cascade Lake processors. We've got faster memory. We've got, longer support life, really better security. This is the differentiation from a hardware perspective that a lot of these things you're not going to get with non-HPE hardware. What we have is differentiating silicon root of trust that Nikita kind of hit on an earlier slide. But what that allows for our customers, it's basically securing the system from the silicon at the actual processor. It allows customers to have confidence that they're not going to have any kind of firmware or any kind of compromise hijacking of the system from supply chain to shipping to implementation, right? And we can also detect any kind of compromised code or any malicious attack, malware attack with runtime firmware validation. So these are the kind of secure things, as you hear about the solution from a software perspective, that really makes sense down below on a hardware perspective too. If we're talking about how secure and we want to mitigate risk with the platform, wouldn't you want your hardware to be able to uphold that same message around security as well? Our systems, we are the leader, the industry leader in enterprise servers across the world. Federal space, SLED, they all trust HPE hardware for a reason. And that's why this is not an apples to apples comparison based on other hardware platforms that could run underneath this, but it's the importance of being able to be secure, even though we talk about non-latency intensive workloads. Still, if you've seen everything that the actual platform can do, you're going to want that processing speed and the ability to balance that workload with the most optimal hardware. In addition, the InfoSight for servers, customers who have the HPE Cohesity solution get InfoSight for servers day one. So that is a differentiator, that global AI intelligence, everything that people love when they purchase our NIMBLE and Primera, they can get that with this solution as well. And we'll have even deeper integration moving forward with technologies with our brethren over at Cohesity and HPE. We'll be getting even more closely integrated in with some exciting news coming later this fall as well. And of course, the new things, the GreenLake consumption, the DL360 as a robo solution, and backing up VMs through NIMBLE integration. That's all going to be talked about in just a little bit here as we move forward with Chris Klosterman. So you go ahead and build it out. So really to focus on that, as I said, right, it's all about all about that hyper converged infrastructure, if you will, right? Ultra dense, rack scalable, but doesn't take up obviously a lot of space. This is a hyper converged solution. We want to follow suit with the hardware as well, right? We are leading DL380 ProLiant Gen 10s, our Apollo 4510s for large scalable footprints, as well as our Apollo R2200s. Those are all blessed. Those are all bundled, configured, supportable solutions that are easy to sell, easy to rack, easy to stand up. As you can see, when I talk about performance, when I talk about workload optimize, that's important, right? If we're going to do it as backup recovery service, if you want to take advantage of file and object, you want to take advantage of analytics, all that starts to build out more requests for your server to be able to perform more. So having a top-notch solution on the back end to keep up with the most optimal workload balances makes for a most efficient solution. The data security, like I said, I hit on the Silicon Root of Trust that's delivered through our ILO 5, through our ILO management system into our servers. And again, that's also where the info site for servers go ahead and connects and can report back and be proactive about making sure the health of that system is always up to speed. And then, of course, consumption models, how you want to go. If you want an implementation on premise, if you want to consume through GreenLake, right? And we've talked about the point next services you can add, right? We want to make sure that the experience and however our customers want to consume, that flexibility is there as well. So without further delay, again, I will hand it back off to the Cohesity team to carry this conversation further.
Thanks, Kyle. So want to touch upon today's big announcement, actually. We made this announcement really literally this morning, and it's exciting news for all of you customers, and this is something that definitely you would take a look at, because Cohesity is now available in HPE GreenLake's as a service consumption model, which gives you an even better TCO, a lower TCO, more simplicity in managing the solution, as well as increased business agility with the option of having HPE managed services on the GreenLake team, doing all of this, installation as well as management for you, allowing your IT teams to concentrate on more strategic initiatives. So we just made this announcement. There is a blog from Cohesity as well as from HPE. Please feel free to go and check that out later. In a sense, we are giving you a cloud-like experience with monthly billing, which is based on your consumption, subject to a minimum commitment, which gives you a cloud-like experience on premises, in your data center, in a co-location facility, or at your edge locations. All of Cohesity's data management software, cloud solutions, etc., are available on certified HPE Gen 10 servers. And you also have the NIMBLE storage snapshot integration, which is part of the joint solution. You also have, the option of having the HPE GreenLake services team manage the whole solution for you as a managed service, which gives you a more hands-free experience. Here are some of the benefits of the GreenLake solution. As I mentioned, there's like 65% faster value with shorter time to deploy global IT projects. This is because upgrades, change, and add-ons can be done as simply as a new change order. And so you can start using added capacity and features in a couple of days, as opposed to waiting for months for new capacity to be added. You're simplifying IT, by managing only strategic initiatives. You're spending 44% less time, keeping the lights on, outsourcing day-to-day activities, routine stuff to the GreenLake management team. You're lowering your IT costs because you do not have to have any capital expenses upfront. You're only paying monthly for what you use. So it's a very nice, OpEx model. You also don't have to over-provision. You only pay for what you use today, subject to a minimum, of course, and then you are able to scale easily. And lastly, this doesn't mean that you have to give up control. You can have access and visibility to all of your data because you're keeping your data on premises. You're also able to manage consumption through the consumption analytics portal, which gives you visibility, predictive insights, automated alerts, and so on your usage. So overall, a very valuable solution and consumption model, especially in today's times when we're all looking to lower costs, lower TCO, and simplify management with a tested and validated solution. I'll hand it over to Chris now to talk about the new robo solution that we just launched.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Nikita. So again, my name is Chris Klosterman. I'm a principal solution architect for Cohesity's Alliance team. I focus pretty much 100% on HPE here. And one of the most interesting things we brought to market in the last few months has been this new robo solution, as we refer to it. We've always had data platform for the edge in a virtual edition, right? And that virtual edition was a VMware or KVM or Hyper-V virtual appliance for real, small edge sites. But one of the problems with that is if you have a small site, let's say a retail store or a bank branch or something like that, you'd end up with your failure domain and where you're protecting the data being one and the same. And what this robo solution really does is gives you a very low cost of entry to just a single one-use server. You can put out at 10 sites, 50 sites, 500 sites if you want. That gives you everything that we offer in one platform. So you get NAS, you get object storage, you get data protection for anything else you have running out at that remote site. And then you have the ability to replicate it back to your core data center, to a big Cohesity cluster if you want, or even to the public cloud. So you get that kind of flexibility. It's a really attractive, size and really attractive footprint, and the cost is quite minimal as well in the terms of what we frequently see here. So we've also launched in recent months integration with NIMBLE's Snapshot API, and really the way you can think about this is when you take a snapshot of a virtual machine, or better yet, 50 virtual machines or 1,000 virtual machines to back them up, that snapshot is held by the hypervisor, right? It's held by VMware in this case for some period of time while you back up the snap, right? The longer you hold the snapshot, the greater the chance of that virtual machine being stunned. So, and it also increases the load on the hypervisor the longer it takes to back up. So what we've seen even with internal testing with this integration is that we can offload that work to the NIMBLE array itself. So rather than asking the hypervisor to take a snapshot, we do that, but it only takes, on average with 50 VMs, it takes about 1 minute, right? Versus about 50 minutes with 50 VMs at the same time. And then we can back up the snapshot from the NIMBLE, right? So we're backing up just a snap of the data from the storage array rather than directly through VMware. You'll continue, obviously this is the first HPE array that we've integrated with. I won't say it'll be the last, but we certainly have more in the pipeline, and I'll leave it at that. But it does give you increased efficiency, fine-grained recovery, and then if you do need to do a restore, right, we also give you the ability to do instant mass restore. Nikita talked about that a little bit earlier, but think of instant mass restore as I'm going to take a backup of this virtual machine from 3 weeks ago, and I want to spin it up right now, but I don't want to do one, I want to do 20 or 50 or 100 and spin them all up at once. and then SV motion them back onto ESX as you go. Obviously, we have white papers and so forth that go through this in a lot greater detail. If anybody's interested, you can certainly make those resources available or help you find them. So now we'll go through use cases. This is the more technical meat here, right? I want to explain what Cohesity is and what it isn't. So Nikita talked about solving mass data fragmentation, right? But we can do that in a number of ways. For a number of our customers, how do they buy their first Cohesity array, right? Well, they buy it because they're backing up to something right now that is costing them a lot of money, whether it's tape, whether it's a legacy data storage device that has lesser features or can't scale as large. Then we move into integrated backup recovery, right? So sure, you could have your Commvault write to Cohesity over SMB. Absolutely, you can do that. You could also replace it, right? Which is integrated backup and recovery. We call this our data protect package, but this is just a software, software that runs on top of the same platform. But a side effect of being able to be a target storage device for Commvault or other backup products is that you need to support file access protocols, right? You need to support SMB, you need to support NFS. And so to do that, rather than trying to use open source products, we built it from scratch. So we built SMB from scratch and can offer a quite superior NAS offering directly on the platform, right? And that's SMB, NFS, S3. Actually, in our most recent release, that also includes OpenStack Swift. And of course, as time goes along and customers make requests, I expect that to continue to evolve. So as Kyle touched on earlier, right, we have HPE offers for managing servers a cloud data management platform called InfoSight. Cohesity has something similar called Helios, right? Helios offers a single pane of glass and a mobile app, just like InfoSight, that can manage your platform, manage your one Cohesity cluster or your 100 or your 1,000 Cohesity clusters, whatever you have, whether it's on-prem, at the edge, in the cloud, and bring it all into one UI for you. And those integrations will continue to roll as we move forward. Integrated cybersecurity is an interesting one for me. This really hits home. I was a NAS guy for EMC for a number of years, and then spent years at a data migration company focused on NAS. And so what I certainly saw is most customers, when they implemented a NAS, a NetApp, an Isilon, or what have you, you have to implement a separate infrastructure just to scan for viruses, right? You need a set of servers, you need software from somebody else just to scan for viruses on the thing. And not only is that subject to latency, because you have to send the files off to scanning engines, but it can be difficult to scan. Well, with Cohesity, there's a marketplace built right in, right? There's an app store, if you will. You can simply deploy apps directly on. One of them is CyberScan, which is a completely free antivirus solution that'll run directly on the platform and scan it for you. You don't have to buy anything else. You don't have to deploy extra infrastructure. It's there and you can use it. I'll touch on what else is in the App Store in a minute. But anti-ransomware, everybody says they do anti-ransomware now. What's most interesting there to me is certainly to see how we can try and help predict things. So if we look at, for instance, daily change rates of a given Windows server. So say you backed up a Windows server for the last 2 years and it changes 2% per day on average, and all of a sudden on one given day, it's 20%, right? That may be a red flag. So we can alert on conditions like that, and certainly help provide a good place to roll back to. We've also introduced CDP, so continuous data protection for VMware in our most recent release as well. So for your most critical VMs, if you need to restore back to an individual, an individual minute or second, we can do that too. Support for modern workloads, right? We can support distributed databases, containers. We've added in our 6.5 release, we've added support for using Valero to protect Kubernetes containers as well. Agile dev and test, and then backup for unstructured data. Backup for unstructured data is near and dear to my heart, as I've spent years of my life, it seems, wasted on NDMP. If I were in a room right now, I'd ask you for a show of hands who suffered through that. But I'll just say that none of us for none of us was it ever a pleasant experience. And so we enable much better methods of backing up really large unstructured data sets, still compressing them, deduping them, indexing them so you can search among them, scan the backup data set for viruses and so forth as well. So it's a really robust solution. So for backup target storage, I'll just skip through these fairly quickly, right? So again, it's a simple on-ramp. If you just need to replace an aging, data domain or Commvault backup appliance or something like that, and you're tied into a particular software for some period of time, this is a great way to get started. You get fast distributed ingest, instant mass restore to restore virtual machines. You get worm protection for security and ransomware protection, and global dedupe across an entire cluster and across all of your workloads. So if you're backing up 1,000 of the same servers, you have the ability to dedupe across all of them. Integrated backup and recovery, we cover all the things you would expect us to cover, right? Integration with VMware, with VCD, with VCF, using VADP with NBD transport for VMware specifically, SQL, Oracle, and the list goes on. Out of respect for time, I won't go through all the details, but it certainly is as robust as you would expect, and we have the ability to cover nearly every single use case out there today. Intelligent file and object store. As I said, I was a file guy for years. This is near and dear to my heart. But Cohesity is a great solution today for home directories, media content, non-latency sensitive application files. And when I say non-latency sensitive, what I'm trying to get at there is if you look at the ability to back up or to store EDI data, right? Or extremely high transactional I/O intensive NAS, right? Today, maybe it's not the right solution, but that generally represents 10% of your data set and not the other 90%. So this is where we really see a lot of growth. We're winning a significant number of NAS deals today, and it's just because a lot of customers are fed up with their legacy solutions and they're ready to look for something better that can give them more as they move forward, including native DR to the cloud and things like that. Integrated cybersecurity, well, we have a reduced attack surface because once data is stored on Cohesity, it's protected as worm until its protection time has expired. We allow you to assess your posture and vulnerabilities with CyberScan for antivirus, along with third-party apps that are in the marketplace, such as SentinelOne, right? So SentinelOne will actually let you do threat detection. We can use Tenable CyberScan app as well. So you can actually, I'm sorry, I was confusing CyberScan. ClamAV is the AV solution earlier. Tenable CyberScan app will actually let you scan virtual machines that you've backed up and go through and identify any vulnerabilities that may exist in the backed up virtual machines, which is rather interesting. And it also helps you detect and then respond to ransomware with global searching, content indexing, even looking for PII data, right? If you want to search all of your data that's been backed up and look for social security numbers, phone numbers, we have that ability as well. Protect about ransomware, we've talked about that. It is an immutable file system, right? And as a result of being an immutable file system, the backup data, which can frequently be an attack vector, is protected itself. I know we have about 5 minutes left, so we'll get through this. So here's the application marketplace as it stands today. And rather than reading all this, I think the key thing to focus on is build your own, the bottom right. So we have some we built ourselves. We have third-party alliance partners that have built some as well, including Splunk. However, there's also the ability to build your own containers. What applications do you have that might do great if they could run directly on the platform that they're stored on? So this lets us bring the compute to the data rather than the data to the compute, which is kind of a big shift. So I'll hand it back over to Nikita now.
Thanks, Chris. So as Chris mentioned, we have cases of faster backup where the backup time is reduced by over 80%, instant recovery from 24 hours to 15 minutes, space efficiency with 20 times reduction in data footprint and about 70% or more lowered TCO. We'll talk in detail about two specific case studies, City of Hamilton, which is a city in Canada. And the primary use case here, they started off with replacing an existing backup solution and then quickly progressed to file and object services, archiving to the cloud, ransomware security, and using some of the Cohesity marketplace apps. And you can see the great reduction in backup time, the restore time, the storage utilization, as well as CapEx and OpEx savings. And Tech EUROLAB, which is an additive manufacturer based out of Italy, they basically were struggling to keep up with their SLAs for file and object servers, file shares. And they achieved 50% reduction in data retrieval time, 100% increase in production output, and significant CapEx and OpEx savings. We'd like to conclude here, basically, what is the impact of doing nothing here or staying with status quo? The growing costs, legacy solutions, charging an arm and a foot, kind of holding you captive because they know you don't want to change. That's what's happening. And you're not getting your money's worth in that. You're missing your service level agreements. You have operational overheads. Your IT folks are kind of up to their necks with just management overheads. And a lot of your data is dark, not visible. You're not really doing much with it, and it's vulnerable to security attacks. So what does Cohesity do? Cohesity and HPE jointly challenge the status quo by giving you a lower TCO, eliminating all your infrastructure and data silos, mass data fragmentation issue, and also giving you pay and as you go scalability and consolidating various use cases. You're keeping up your SLAs, you're instantly recovering, you're doing global search, all of this great benefits, which is a modern solution. You're increasing the operational efficiency without disruptive upgrades. You're centrally managing all your secondary and non-latency sensitive data. And you're also using it more than just an expensive insurance policy by running apps, protecting this data, doing analytics on it, and so on. So this is what you are doing with the joint Cohesity and HPE solution. So engage with us, Feel free to read more about our solution on cohesity.com/HPE or email hpe@cohesity.com or engage with us on LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. And right now we have a great offer going on where you can have a work from home essentials kit delivered right to your doorstep by just registering online. There are links on social media as well, or attend any of our virtual lunch and learns for a free, Grubhub, Instacart, or DoorDash gift voucher. And it's called Cohesity Dine and Cast. So happy to answer any questions in the chat. Thank you all for your time and hope you guys found this useful. Here are some, announcements and media as well. You will have these slides after this presentation, so feel free to click on these to learn more.
Excellent presentation, Nikita, Chris, and Kyle. I really appreciate all the insight on this exciting new partnership with HPE and Cohesity, and especially around the GreenLake solution. I want to remind everyone that the entire slide deck, including this slide that you see here with a lot of links to a lot of different resources, those are available there in the handouts tab in your GoToWebinar control panel. You can just download that PDF as well as the other two resources that are in there. Make sure you get those before you go. I'm afraid we have run out of time for Q&A. We've answered a lot of the questions electronically there in the chat. So thank you for all the good questions. Hopefully you got most of your questions answered. If there's any remaining questions, we'll get back to those after the event. Before we go, I want to award the Amazon $300 gift card that's going to Greg Daly of Michigan. Thank you and congratulations to Greg Daly of Michigan. And then finally, I want to thank HPE and Cohesity for sponsoring today's event and presenting. And thank you to our audience for joining. I hope everyone enjoyed the event. Again, thank you, Chris, Nikita, and Kyle for your expert presentations. Visit HPE and Cohesity for more information. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you all.